You found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the man who escaped Dinosaur Adventureland and Hovin's theme park, Matt with Maddie 36. Welcome everybody. I am, of course, a Dapper Dinosaur. Sorry, I have my little mic boom here visible. I'll try to move that so it's less so. I am here with this wonderful tutu because you guys paid for me to have a tutu on, and I appreciate that. I'm also realizing I didn't focus on Maddie here, so I will do that now so that she's more full screen. That's a Dapper's a professional right there, so take a drink.
Oh, goodness, I can crack my beer. I'm stoked.
I am drinking a Mai Tai out of this lovely Wharf Tiki mug.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get... My husband just got me... I don't have it next to me. I'll get it at the break. But he got me a vintage Jean-Luc Picard action figure, still in box, and it's so cool. I will be drinking... I still have an Oktoberfest in my fridge, so I'm drinking that.
Very
listen,
nice.
I love Oktoberfest beers, but when it's October here, it's often still like 90 degrees outside when I don't want an Oktoberfest beer.
Yeah, they're a little stout for that, huh?
Yeah, so I drink them off season, but I love them, so I stock up because I know they're going to go out, right?
Right.
Anyway.
No, that's understandable. I get it.
Yeah.
All right, so...
Dapper, how are you doing in your itchy human suit and tutu?
That is a wonderful question. So, we are here to talk about some Matt Powell, because I don't have an answer to that question.
Boy, howdy! We sure are here to talk about Matt Paul. It's that time of the month. My least favorite. It's not my least favorite time of the month, because I like hanging out with you, Dapper, and I like hanging out with chat, right? We have a good time here, but boy, howdy, does the Matts of Young Earth Creationism make me lose faith in humanity. And you know what? Here's the thing. I've started teaching. I'm adjuncting a class at a little liberal arts school this semester. It's so much fun. I love it. It's like a Monday night lab. And so we've had 2 classes, and it's great. And you know, like all of my students, I have 24 students in the class, and like 12 of them are dance majors, and the other are music performance majors, right? And there's like a political science and a film guy thrown in there for good measure, right? And you know what, Dapper? Oh my gosh, let's do science together. This is really interesting. This is an engaging class, right? Oh, sorry. What I'm trying to say is that the level of dumb we encounter here is not because they don't have a degree in science, right? Like, my dance majors would think this is dumb, right? And just, anyway. Mm-hmm. Woo! Rock that tutu, Dapper. We're gonna get you dancing on a table by the end of the night. That's true. That's true. You've got to get sturdier furniture.
I was just muted. We took 5 drinks. I'm an idiot.
Oh, hey, I'm gonna drink for Dapper as a professional. Guys, Dapper's kind of having a night so far already.
We actually had 2 Dappers Professionals. One that I forgot to add in, which is actually a 3rd Dappers Professional, so here we go.
Yeah, cheers. So.
Okay.
We're gonna give our friends a lot of grace tonight. That's what we're gonna do.
For like the next few
Not
years,
our enemies, but our friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No mercy for our enemies.
No. Alright, so, where the heck was I? Alright, first of all, it is Vishanti's birthday, So I want everyone to put in some happy birthday with some Vishanti emojis. So
Happy birthday, Vish!
here's the deal. I have a super chat goal here. If we can get 15 super chats of the, let's see, teal variety in the next hour, I will go to the Vish list, and I will get her a present from the Vish list.
Let's do it, team.
Yeah, let's get Vishanti a special birthday present from chat. Because basically the idea is you're kind of like paying for the present from all of us, is the idea. And if we don't meet it, then it just means everyone hates Vishanti.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means.
That's what it means.
Or it could just be that not everyone here is of means, which is absolutely okay, because I do not want you to give me money if you can't afford it.
Yeah. Hey, do you know some free ways that you could support this stream? Because you can like it. You can share it with your friends. You could share it out right now, and it's like, hey, come watch this with me. You could write a comment. My new favorite comment is just to say something about how well Al Gore dances. So you're not saying it's for the algorithm, but it's like for Al Gore's rhythm.
Another one that's really good is I watch all of Dapper Dinosaur's videos. That helps because then that can tell the algorithm, hey, maybe you want them in your feed every once in a while.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. So we are here primarily to talk about Matt Powell, who's not the guy on screen. That is one of his buddies in this call. I don't know exactly who it is. I just made this big for some reason.
Yeah, for talking doctrine.
Yep. So we have drinking rules.
They're trying to make rhyme, and it bothers me every time.
Yeah, it's not a great rhyme, but we have drinking rules. And so you've already seen that we take drinks for each membership gifted, up to a point. If we get too many in once, basically like more than 30, I will just finish. Actually, with this, that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
I will take several large swigs.
Yeah.
And then continue on. But generally, it's one per. We also will take a drink for each time I screw up the production, but not each time there's technical difficulties, right? So if OBS decides to freeze up, or YouTube decides to drop their connection to the internet, causing a whole bunch of buffering, that's not Dapper's a professional. That's just YouTube or whatever software causing problems. So
it has to be Dapper has to actually make a mistake.
Which, don't worry, I do. You've already seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. But like the gremlins, the YouTube gremlins would be a separate thing.
Right.
And we don't currently have a trigger for gremlins.
Right. Triceratops says, what are you two drinking? Maddie's got an Oktoberfest beer, and I have an extremely strong Mai Tai in this Wharf Tiki mug.
It's a local brewery, Coop Ale Works, out here in Oklahoma. It's in central Oklahoma. So I've got a few of their Oktoberfests left.
Okay. Let's see. So we will also take a drink if the creationist, which is usually Matt Powell in this case, although if one of the other creationists says something extremely dumb, we might take a drink for that too. So yeah, they say something extremely dumb, and we just have to cool our brains off a little bit. Brain coolant, if you will. We'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if the creationist, Matt Powell in this case, tells a joke that doesn't land or a story that didn't happen. Now, those are, judgment calls, especially the story that didn't happen. So, we...
But if it belongs on r/that happened or r/everybody clapped.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we take a drink for. And to be fair, a lot of creationists tell a lot of stories that sound like they belong on one of those two subreddits.
Yeah.
So, we will also take a drink if Matt Powell mentions that German political party that's increasingly popular here in the Kingdom of Central North America, which is what I've decided to start calling the country.
I like that. I think we should get Empire in there somewhere, though.
So I thought about it, but the thing is, while the country does engage in various imperialistic policies, it's like...
Yeah. Are we an empire?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's a weird edge case.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of places that the country has variously conquered, but then kind of left, and then also kind of not.
Kind of not, yeah.
Right. Like, is South Korea part of the American Empire? Well, kind of, but also no. But also kind of. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know if empire really applies. I'm too much of a history guy to just apply the term empire willy-nilly. So, Also, a huge swath
You
of
and your standards.
I know.
Jeez.
Also, a huge swath of the territory of the United States actually joined as a state, with the other option having been being a state that doesn't join and then just becoming a sovereign country. And so, like, that's not imperial. That's just like...
That's true.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink if Matt Powell confuses what we can know from the single specimen Lucy of Australopithecus afarensis with what we can know from any wider taxon to which she belongs. That's called ad hominid. We only get one of those per stream. We'll also take a drink if Matt Powell gets something factually correct. We will also take a drink if he mentions the Columbine incident that you're probably all familiar with. Because, boy, howdy, does he like to talk about that for some reason.
He sure does.
We also take a drink for Matt Powell if we just get sudden whiplash transphobia, where basically there's just something going on, has nothing to do with any kind of trans issues. He could just be talking about, like, I don't know, like soil erosion or like how high planes fly, and then suddenly he'll pivot to like, and you know, people think that girls can become boys now. So what? Why is this here?
It's a wild transition when it happens.
Yeah, he just on a dime switches to like, and now let me be transphobic for 5 minutes, and it's just.
We didn't have to do that, Matt.
Yeah,
like we didn't have to.
Nothing to do with anything. But anyway,
okay, I'm doing some hand sewing and it's looking really good. I'm happy.
So yeah, we take a drink for just random topic switches to transphobia, which weirdly common for Matt. It's actually like I know pretty much all the other creationists are just as transphobic as Matt.
Yeah,
they at least have like a bridge between that topic and other topics that kind of makes sense.
The thing that makes Matt stand out is his his communication style, by which I mean his complete lack of communication style.
Yeah.
Right. Where we just jump from point to point with no transition and the whole talk is just whiplash.
Yep.
Yeah, which is it's intense, which is listen, every time we do a Matt Powell video, I say, buddy, we will crowdsource you the funds to take a class on rhetoric, right? Like or just speech 101. Would love you to take that class. Right?
Also, I appreciate that we've had a number of trans flags in the chat. Thank you very much.
Oh, trans rights, man.
Yep.
I'm here for trans rights. Here for it tonight.
Yep.
And all night.
One thing I actually said to some transphobes once, and it was I never really got a response, was like, okay, let's say everything you're saying is right about trans people not actually being the gender that they identify as and all this stuff.
Yeah.
What this then comes down to is there's a certain group of people whose fashion choices you don't like.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be something you care about. That should just be a minor annoyance, right? The way you should think of that is like, I don't like the way that like the bus smells every once in a while when I take the bus. Like that's the worst level that should rise to, which is like, I don't see why that would be a cause for you to do things like advocate against people's basic rights or healthcare or be violent towards them. Like I just don't get it.
That seems wild. Like that choice seems absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it actually seems like what you really have is you just need to hate someone.
Yeah.
And that's an easy target for you.
It's almost like marginalized groups are easy targets for scapegoats.
Oh. All right. So we will also take a drink if we check one of Matt's sources, which he almost never cites, but if he does and we check it, and rather than supporting him, it directly refutes him, we take a drink for Trojan source. Now that doesn't mean it just doesn't support him, right? So like if he says that, oh, you know, it says the earth is a globe in the Bible in John 3:16, it's like, okay, well, John 3:16 has nothing to do with that. So it's not a Trojan source, it's just a bad source. But if he then picks like Genesis 1, which pretty explicitly has the earth as flat with a solid dome over it, that's a Trojan source. Let's see, we will also take a drink if anyone super chats anything with either or with any of the kaiju emoji. So that's Mothra, Godzilla, King Ghidorah. Also, if they come by audibly, which might happen, we take a drink for that. We will also take a drink if anyone super chats or membership milestone chats, anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks, because they really are. And
remember, alliterative versions are my personal favorite, so you'll make me happy and get bonus points.
All right, now we have
creative alliteration.
A bunch of super chats to read out here. Josh McGee's for $5 says, Gauntlet Throne for the gift, happy birthday at Vishanti. Roshina Japonic
Yay!
means Germanic Keller says, I just joined to hear everyone hates Vishanti Heartbreak. Don't worry, that was not a statement of fact. Aiden's Miscellany, who's been a member for 5 months and is at the Amniote level, says, I do in fact watch all of Dapper's videos, though I haven't quite fully plumbed the older ones yet. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a big back catalog. Lieutenant Fits of Rage for $5 says, Happy birthday, Vishanti. AIG is a bag of the type of people who abuse the copyright system on a long-beloved song because their ancestor wrote it. Metageeky Platypus Warlock for $5 says, For Vishala, I proclaim her to be an avatar of Mothra with just a bunch of Vishanti emojis. Thank you very much.
Beautiful.
Ray Elgatubella for $2 says, Yanitlar Garatilista Birshanta Shuklar? I don't even know what language we're going for. I'm just going to assume it's a AIG's a bag of dicks and we're going to take a drink. I also forgot
Let's
to hit
do it.
Yeah.
Take a drink. Guys, my beer's like halfway empty and we haven't hit play. This is the kind of night I am here for.
Mm-hmm.
This is the energy I want you all to bring all night.
Joshua Geese for $5 says, Sailor Star Sparrow says something to the effect of AIG are an aberrant assortment of something alliterative alicorns. Can't read, chat, and type. Alright, well, thank you. We'll take a drink. My Unfinished Journey for $6.66 says, Hail Nero, hail Daps, and Maddie, and happy birthday to the vivacious Vish lady with a bunch of alternating Vishanti and birthday cake emojis. It's Turkish. Okay, I do not know Turkish. I know. How
and
horrible.
You call yourself a linguist.
I don't. I very specifically do not call myself a linguist. For reasons, very specific reasons. Also, linguists don't just know all the languages. That's not how being a linguist works. Like, Maddie, do you know all of the weathers? All of them?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Name a weather I don't know.
Diamond rain.
That's not a thing.
It is on exoplanets and its weather. So take that. You didn't even know it was a thing, so
I didn't.
boom.
You're right. I didn't. That was a mic drop moment.
I'm not going to drop this mic. It's too expensive. Also,
That's
Bob
fair.
Knob got it for me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to Bob Knob, really, because that just arrived at my house one day.
What?
And I was just like, what is this? And it was like from my wish list, and it had a note from Bob Knob. He was like, hey, I like your stuff. I'm like, I wasn't even super aware that you were watching, but I really appreciate that. All right.
That's awesome.
So this guy, Beery McBeardface here, has just been asking Raw Matt a question, because for some reason, not Raw Matt, I'm sorry, Matt Powell. Matt Powell is for some reason on this panel as an expert at, like, the evolution creationism debate. Which, like, there isn't one of. There's a debate about this the same way that there's a debate over the shape of the Earth, in that there are a small bunch of crazy people who think the Earth is flat and who like to argue about that on the internet. And then there's the entire rest of the population who barely know that they exist and don't care. And then there's the other sliver of the population, which is us, who both know the debate exists and are interested enough to watch it happen.
Yeah, we're interested enough to watch it happen. And listen, this is what we do with a Tuesday night. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to do. All right, Fearmonger.
What else is there to do on a Tuesday?
Yeah. Fearmonger, Master of Science for $5 says, let's see. Otfan med AIG deras hukar lika stora som en vals men utan överklagandet. Which I think is, like, Norwegian or something, and I'm taking a drink. Guys, always throwing me, like, the ridiculous languages. I was going to say, what's next, Amharic, but then I realized, just by saying that, that's what's going to be next, and someone's going to be like, oh, so you can't read the Amharic Abjad? Or no, sorry, Abugida? And no, I can't. I can't read the Amharic Abugida.
Okay.
I didn't even remember that it was an Abugida at first, and not an Abjad. And in my defense, most Semitic languages are written with Abjads, not Abugidas. So.
Yep.
Maddie knows what all of those words mean. Just don't ask her for
I
details.
sure do.
All right,
sure
so
do.
Beardy McBeardface here is asking Matt Powell whether they have abandoned all of Darwin's philosophy, which is a weird thing to ask because no one cares about Darwin's philosophy.
Yeah.
But I think what he means is his hypotheses that form the core of evolutionary biology.
Yeah.
Swedish. Okay. It says it's AIG's cocks with an X are as big as a whale's but without the appeal. All right. Well, you should have sent that to Jackson because he's the one who knows all about the whale penis.
Yep.
To this day,
when I think about Jackson, that's what I think of, whale penises.
It's his best performing video. Is his video all about whale penises?
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's by a good margin too.
Accidentally, listen, I sing at church sometimes, and I like that a lot. But I accidentally put my wrong personality on, because the woman I was sharing a music stand with, she was like drawing a thank you card and she was trying to draw like a bell, like a Christmas bell on it. And she was like, does that look like two penises? And my head immediately went to the improv game, warm-up game of two penises. What would you do with two penises? And I sang that out loud at church. That was incorrect. That was not a thing I was supposed to do.
Well, better luck next time. Metageeky Platypus Warlock for $2 says, he's a Matster debater. AIG really is a... And we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. All right, so
Cheers.
We're going to hit play now. Now that we're almost a half an hour in. Yeah.
Let's do
they
it.
Kind of said that that's old-fashioned and they're changing to new modern thinking, or do they still pretty much hold to that Darwinian thinking?
What is it? Is it
Well,
crashing already?
Mention that.
I hate my
Oh,
voice.
I can hear it.
That doesn't mean it's not crashing.
Interesting you mention that because they even say that you're supposed to be, and they quote Stephen Hawking's, and I don't have the quote in front. Actually,
okay, so it did in fact crash, which is just
good.
Great. So what I'm going to say is, in the meantime, why don't we talk about the fact that Stephen Hawking's isn't a person who exists or existed,
and not a person who exists or existed, and like. What biologist is quoting Hawking, right? Like,
well, hello everybody. My name is
the different fields. Those are different fields entirely. And also, this goes back to the like a lot of young Earth creationists really want there to be a prophet of science, right? So we're supposed to all just be little disciples of Hawking or Tyson or Darwin or whatever, and that's just not real. I recently tried to point that out on like a Reddit in r/debate evolution of like you keep saying things like do Christian do people who believe science like know that like the people they listen to are just blah blah blah, and I was like, there are no, and I replied, I was trying to get to that point of like there are no prophets of science. And he missed the point. The poster missed the point entirely. It's like, I never said anything about a prophet of science. I was like, oh my god, reading comprehension is so bad.
Yeah, well, apparently that's just a problem in this country overall, so that's fun.
That's so great.
We have a couple super chats here. Roshina, Japonic means Germanic. Keller for $4.99 says, if you can't at least read Sumerian, what exactly kind of linguist are you? None kind. Or I perhaps should say a amateur enthusiast kind, perhaps. And then my unfinished sock for $5 says, don't sing off-color songs at church, like and share the stream instead. Which is good advice.
That's really good advice. Yeah. Make sure your mic isn't hot when you curse in church.
We only have 6 more super chats until we get that wonderful present for Vishanti, which I have not picked out yet.
Well, it's actually interesting you mentioned that because it's interesting you mentioned that because they even say that you're supposed to be, and they quote Stephen Hawking's, and I don't have the quote in front. Actually, yeah, I do.
So remember, Matt is on record as seeing nothing wrong with quote mining. So anytime he quotes anyone, you should assume he's lying about what that person believes.
Yeah.
So Joe White for $5 says, so what does one do with 2 flesh sausages in church? YouTube won't let me use the proper label. You know what? That's probably going to depend on which church you're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's going to be a case-by-case basis, and if you're unclear on the rules, ask the pastor or priest or, I don't know, vicar.
It's best to it's best to sing the song.
Well, that'll help you get like the idea going as to people should be thinking about this.
Yeah, well, yeah. The improv warm-up is just like, it's like a rhyming thing. It's like, I would take them to the park. It would really be a lark, right? Like, it's just silly, and it's not actually sexual, but
unless you want to
anyway.
rhyme that way.
Unless you want to rhyme that way. Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm not in charge of your improv session, so I don't get to tell you whether or not. All right. Oh, and for €5, Vadim Radchenko says, best of the Vishes, Vish. Thank you very much. All right, here we go.
This is from an article that was written on Stephen Hawking's. And it says, Hawking
Hawking
stated that given the
I'm just going to
vastness
drink
of the
for
universe,
Hawking's.
aliens likely exist. So not God, but aliens likely exist. Just no God.
Okay, Matt, we already have one data point saying that it is definitely the case that here in this physical reality, life can exist on a planet, in a solar system, in a galaxy.
Yes, that is a thing that we can demonstrably prove.
Therefore, it's not a big leap to say maybe on a different planet, around a different star, maybe in a different galaxy, or maybe in this one, a similar set of chemical systems might exist.
Yeah.
Now, we do not have the same ability to say, look, here in this physical reality is God. Now, granted, this is just an effigy of war from Star Trek The Next Generation and the movies, as well as Star Trek Picard, but whatever. We'll just pretend that this is, representing the hypothetical God here. When we get the ability to do that, then we can start speculating about the possibility of finding other such objects out there in the universe. But you have yet to find a single object, which itself is what you are referencing when you talk about God. Therefore, at least in terms of science, we don't have justification to speculate about any such entities. When you find something like that you can point to and measure and talk about the properties of, and that is your referent for God, and we can all verify that it has the properties you say it does,
right?
Then we can talk about this scientifically.
But yeah, like having some sense of like the statistical probability that life exists elsewhere in the universe, right? Is very, very different than, that's not a point of faith. That's like the like equation, there's like few unknowns. So I think it's most responsible to say like there's insufficient data to conclude. Right. But like that's my opinion. But like
we at least have a ballpark idea of what some of the factors have as values and what the overall factors should be if we wanted to estimate things.
Exactly. Like per like number of or percentage of like other solar systems that have planets, the percentage of those that are in a Goldilocks zone, assuming liquid water is necessary, right, for life, etc., so forth, right? And so there's some of the stuff we just don't know. You just can't, such as like how easy or how common is like an abiogenesis process.
Right. Once you have all the right ingredients, we don't know.
No idea.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, Matt views scientist as a singular category to a similar degree that screenwriters do. Yeah. They're just, I am Mr. Scientist Man. I will now opine on science.
Also, excuse me, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator, don't you mean...
Matt is in fact a beluga whale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, have you finished Lower Decks yet?
I finished Lower Decks.
Yes.
I had the flu last week, and I watched a lot of Star Trek.
Awesome. All right, here we go.
Which is irrational. But the contact with them should be avoided. And then they also say he was also making and becoming more intuitive. And
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean in this context.
Speculative. rather than relying on mathematical proofs. So Hawking just point blank admits.
Oh, now you get his name right, Matt.
Yeah.
Good job. It's probably because he just read it.
Yeah.
And even his writers are like, wow, is he really okay? Yeah, he's saying that we should be more speculative and more intuitive rather than.
Actually, that's not what you read. What you read was that the people writing articles said that that's what he had done, but not what he had advocated for. And those aren't the same thing, Matt. Matt?
Right. Yeah, like Nobel syndrome is a thing. Right?
Yeah. Also, Matt has, like, really serious problems with just, like, the most basic language processing, like, skills.
Yeah. His reading comprehension is higher than Kent, but, like...
That's not a high bar. Yeah, that's... I mean, that's like saying, like, oh, I have the world's heaviest chihuahua. Like, okay, but, like, you still don't have a very heavy dog.
Yeah.
Like, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
2, 3. This really is just like half rum. 4. And 5.
I want to see that tutu twirl on a table before the night is...
Look, there's a dinosaur in this suit. It would break any table I have.
Twirl!
In a chair, I can't even... Alright. Let's see. We're only 3 super chats away with a half an hour to go, so I think we can do it.
Did you mean an hour and a half?
No. The goal ends in a half hour.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
Yes. Faye DeGray post-Diluvian flying glaciers for $5 says, what does God need with an ecosphere? Happy annual Vish Day. Yes, happy annual Vish Day. It is the best holiday because it's just a celebration of Vishanti and not anything that has unfortunate historical implications that are iffy, which is something that most holidays have.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And in 500 years, when people are still celebrating annual Vish Day, you're gonna have somebody be like, actually, these are the pagan origins of it.
Yes, the pagan origins of Vish Day.
Yeah. Don't you know that, like, Vish really comes from Ishtar? Ugh.
Speaking of silly Easter things, there's only one Easter this year.
What?
Yeah, all the Christians are going to be celebrating Easter on the same day, unless they're like weirdos who just don't celebrate Easter or something.
That would be a weird branch of Christianity to not celebrate Easter.
Okay, but there's a lot of really weird branches of Christianity.
That's true. That's true.
So, like, I don't know. But yeah,
Okay.
Eastern and Western Easter, same day this year. So, cheers to that too.
What is the formula for Eastern Easter?
It's the same, except it also has to be after Passover.
Oh, okay.
So most years, it turns out that Western Easter is on or before Passover, which means that Eastern Easter gets pushed until after.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And while there are a number of reasons, yes, some of them are unfortunately anti-Semitic.
Mm.
But then again, a lot of Christian history has a lot of anti-Semitism. So, you know...
Yeah,
you don't now have to be anti-Semitic in order to celebrate Easter on the Greek or the Russian date, which are the same dates. Also, Regios has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships, so thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
1,
I'm gonna finish my beer early.
2, 3, 4, and 5. Meldeborn, who's been a member for 28 months, says, does having a single Easter this year make it a mega Easter? You know what?
Mega Easter.
Not officially, but I like it. I like the phrase.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
go
go with
the energy.
Yeah. Yes. This year is Mega Easter. They happen every once in a while. They're not that uncommon. And Allying the Idiocracy, Gladstone for $5 says, "Fishing Vish many Vishy Vish days." Thank you very much. And I think that puts us only one super chat away from Mia making sure to buy Vish a birthday present from her wish list.
Yay!
And don't worry, it'll be like, you know, commensurate with the super chats. Because, you know, otherwise that'd just be weird. I'm not gonna like go and like, okay, sort by price lowest, buy the absolute cheapest one. Okay, she wants like a pair of socks. Boom, happy birthday. You got a pair of socks, Vishanti.
Boom.
Although socks are really nice.
Socks are really nice. Nice socks, man. Ugh.
Okay, if she has nice socks on there, I might just get those.
Yeah. Have you seen that there's an interview on like Larry King Live with the actor that plays Abed? What's his name? Danny something? And Larry's asking him like what's his like stuff he does for luxury, and he's like, oh man, a really nice cup of coffee, like that's my like luxury. And Larry King was like, that's not a luxury, I mean like private plane or something. And then the actor just goes like, I'm the voice actor for DuckTales.
Like, I'm the wrong level of celebrity here.
Yeah, how much do you think I make?
It's like people assuming I'm loaded because they're my fan on the internet. It's like, okay, I recognize that for you, I'm a big celebrity, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm a small-time YouTuber who has under 20,000 subs. I am not raking in the dough. Don't get me wrong. I'm living a comfortable life.
Yeah.
So, all right. Got a few super chats here. Rail got Bella for $2. Said, Easter Bunny must be happy. Only one egg trip. Actually, in most Eastern churches, the Easter Bunny idea doesn't really have as much play. That was really an invention of, Catholics over in Europe. The eggs do, though. So there's a lot of egg dyeing.
Eggs was a common, gift you would give someone to break their Lenten fast.
Yep. Because originally, both in the West and the Christian East, eggs were fasted from. And that is still something that it happens on fasts in the East. No eggs, meat, dairy, olive oil, or wine.
Olive oil? Interesting.
No olive oil.
But that's why you get weird things labeled as fish, so they're not technically meat. Like,
oh no, I'm sorry.
Beavers.
In the East, fish counts as meat.
Fish counts as meat? Whoa.
But not, vertebrate fish do, but not shellfish. Oh. So if you want to, during a fast, quote unquote, follow the rules and sit down to a big lobster and a huge glass of whiskey, technically, you're not breaking any of the fasting rules.
Okay.
Just don't have a steak with that. Or do, because you know what the rules are for, what happens if you break your fast? In the Orthodox Church? Nothing. There's no rule.
Nothing.
You're just like, okay. Anyway.
You didn't fast, yeah.
Liz D for $5 says, for my only super chat of the month, tell Vish AIG is a bag of Kent Hovinds, and also, happy birthday. Thank you very much, Liz D. All right. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for $4.99 says, I cannot abide the thought of Richard Carrier's future counterpart claiming that Vishanti was invented by a linguist to sell super chats. Nice. Tatted Cat for $2 says, AIG is a pouch of petrified phalli. Nice.
Yay!
All right, I will make sure that I
Bonus
update.
Points. Shine on, friend. My gentle parenting is going to leak into this video.
All right, and actually, we're about almost halfway to Bent getting free pizza.
Amazing.
Which, remember, is the only time he eats.
Yeah.
He doesn't otherwise get fed, right? Like, he just has water, he has a water dish, and a couch that he curls up on and stays very, very still because he can't afford to spend the calories doing anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he gets some calories from those Baja Blast that he drinks. So, there is that, but... Okay, here we go.
Relying on mathematical proofs. In order for something to be science, it has to be it has to be demonstrable, testable, and provable.
Okay, Matt. Do you ever hear yourself talk? Because you believe that there was a miraculous global flood 4,400 years ago. None of that is testable, demonstrable, or any of those other things.
So if you want to say that belief in the flood is not science, I'm here for you. I'm here for that.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Right? I agree.
I just feel like he doesn't normally feel that way.
Yeah. Also, listen, I don't know the context of that quote, but the idea that creativity has no place in science is silly, right? And in fact, I forget the study, but I read it a while ago. and it was looking at like Nobel Prize winning scientists versus versus like all scientists, right? Those two groups. And Nobel Prize winning scientists were significantly more likely to also partake in like creative endeavors, right? Twice as likely to play a musical instrument, 10 times as likely to do some sort of performing art, right? And the point of this is that like if you want to like make real breakthroughs in science, right? Then that out of the box creative thinking is very necessary, right? It's also necessary to then do the hard work, right? Of
Yeah, that's the key there.
demonstrating it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes from just your fun idea to being part of
Yeah.
a scientific consensus.
Exactly. So like again, I don't know the context of this quote because who knows where I don't even, who knows what book it's from. But the idea of like Stephen Hawking, if what it's saying is like, hey, I think we should encourage scientists, people who want like students pursuing science, to not neglect their creative pursuits, right? That's great, right? Like that's real. There's nothing wrong with like get a little weird with your ideas and then rein it in when you do the real work of it. Nothing wrong with that. And in fact, like I would advocate for that as well. But I don't know if that was what you're saying, but that's just to give Stephen Hawking the benefit of the doubt there. But we can also think about like the Nobel syndrome, right? Of people win a Nobel Prize and then they kind of start talking out their butt about fields that they're not familiar with. So like maybe that's a little bit of what's happening too, right? So sorry, I still have a little leftover cough from being sick last week. So, like one, be careful, don't talk out your butt about stuff you're not an expert in. Physicists make really bad philosophers and philosophers make bad physicists.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I missed this earlier. Roshna Japonic means Germanic Keller for $4.99, which was the super chat that actually hit the goal. It says Demon Lord of Veltol Velvet Velsvalt Vishanti. Thank you very much. That was not easy to read.
Beautiful.
And then let's see. Rail got you belted for $5 says breaking the Lenten fast in Louisiana turns you into a werewolf. Worth it. Well, there you go. Now, if you want to be a werewolf, you know what to do. Go to Louisiana and eat some sausage on Friday during Lent, because then you'll have broken all the fasting rules from both Catholicism and the Eastern Christians. So,
Mm-hmm.
And then run an Unwelcome Nuance K for $5 with their fifth super chat on the channel. That doesn't seem right. I feel like it's been a lot more than that. But hey, you know what? Either way, congrats. It says, I'm still catching up, but happy birthday, Vishanti, with a birthday cake and Godzilla, and we will take a drink. Thank you very much. I will update the funding guy here. All right, there we go. And here we go.
None of what they're saying is, and they're constantly pulling these quotes from Stephen Hawking is the greatest.
And now we're back to Stephen Hawking's.
Yeah, and
prophet
is he gonna say prophet of science?
Of science of all time, testable and
Hold on.
provable. None of what they're saying is.
Hold on, I rewound it so we can make sure.
Pulling these quotes from Stephen Hawking is the greatest, prophet of science of all time.
He said it.
We've taken a drink. What the hell, Matt?
There are no prophets of science.
No, there aren't. No one
I'm
believes...
finishing my beer on that.
Yeah. Matt, here's the thing. There are famous scientists, right? But they're not famous because they're super cool dudes. They're famous because they came up with important ideas that turned out to be very well supported and became the basis for a whole theoretical framework, right? But if any of their ideas turn out to be wrong and not supported by evidence, you know what we do with those ideas?
Chuck them.
Yep. There's a reason why we don't accept Darwin's ideas of gemmules or blended inheritance. It's because they were wrong. And so you don't find anyone saying, oh, but Darwin said blended inheritance is right, so how can we, poor little us, contend with the almighty Darwin, prophet of evolution. No, that's not how anyone thinks about this.
Nope. And actually, I would encourage you, Matt, to take this attitude into your theology, right? Just because a famous person in your religion said it, listen, I'm a Christian, so I might like, let's just not throw what Jesus said out the window, but like, definitely like, oh, did Paul say something that seems real weird? Let's check that. Chuck it.
Hey, here's the
Feels
thing
great.
that pretty much all Christians have chucked that Paul said. Paul
Yeah.
said that all Christians should aspire to be celibate and chaste.
That's true.
Not too many
Don't get
Christians
married
do that.
unless you
Yeah.
just absolutely have to. Unless you just can't not
Basically,
do the
if you couldn't keep it in your pants, you
feast
can
with
get
two
married
backs. Yeah.
specifically so that you can occasionally have sex to keep you from constantly wanting sex. But you should keep it to a minimum, and ideally, just don't get married.
Yeah, ideally.
Because when was the last time you heard a Christian advocating for celibacy as the top goal in the Christian life?
As just like the default. Yeah, so
For
like
everyone. We're not talking like the priesthood or something. No, we're talking like every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the church should aspire to just never have sex.
yeah,
No one thinks that.
right.
So we're already in a situation where the vast majority of Christians have taken at least some of the things Paul has said and been like,
And said,
nah,
no, thank you.
We don't need to do that. Nope.
You don't need to do that. I don't think that works in the context of my life. So like, and I think that's a very healthy thing to do.
Vanima Richenko says, I heard Catholics talking that. Yeah, you'll find some weirdos here and there.
Yeah.
When I say everyone, I very rarely literally mean every single person in the category. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 says, I think his correct pronunciation was a misspeak, which I believe is a reference to him saying Stephen Hawking that one time. Yeah, it probably was a misspeak on his part. He probably does. Even though he's been reading an article quoting Stephen Hawking, he probably still thinks it's Hawking's.
Yeah.
Well, you know, what amazes me is one of his quotes. I have it here from my last debate. This is Stephen Hawking's. He said,
No, it's not, because that's not anyone.
No, it's
but
not.
okay.
That's not a person.
and I don't believe in the Big Bang, but let's say the Big Bang's true. Let's just give
Okay,
Stephen
yeah,
Hawking's
sure.
the benefit.
Let's just say that the best supported model for cosmology might be true.
Might
just
be
for the
true.
sake of argument. The Earth might be flat. Germs might cause diseases. Fire might actually be rapid oxidation chemical reactions. Maybe, for the sake of argument.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, barometric pressure exists. Who knows?
Who knows? Wild. We're getting wild over here.
Yeah. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator from 499 says, T-Rex is an obligate scavenger, thus saith the almighty prophet Horner. No. No, it is not. Sorry, Jack. But, That's not to say it didn't scavenge. It almost... Actually, no, we know for a fact that it did, because we have evidence of some dinosaur fossils with scavenge marks from a T-Rex, and we know they're scavenge marks because there's differences in how they're preserved from one end to the other, meaning that one part of the bone was exposed, and we have teeth marks from the premaxillary teeth of a T-Rex scraping up, but only on the part that seems to have been exposed for longer, which means it wasn't getting at the lower parts because they were already buried, which means it was scavenging. Which is really freaking cool, by the way.
That's really cool.
Roachina Japonic means Germanic, Keller for 499 says, speaking of prophets, anyone know where Ted Cruz's entry on WikiFeet went? I do not. I have never checked for his WikiFeet entry. You might be shocked to know. Or not shocked, I don't know. You all know that when it comes to feet, it's sauropods all the way for me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, ceratopsians, not bad.
For the doubt. He's telling the truth. The Big Bang's true. We just bang out of nothing. The first law of thermodynamics violated.
Nope. At no point does the Big Bang suggest that anything was either created or destroyed in terms of energy.
Yep.
Nope. Now, could that be a thing that is true anyway before the Big Bang, the time we can't talk about? Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
We can't talk about that time because we don't know. We have absolutely no evidence. All right. If you think you saw a giraffe, no, you didn't. For 100 Argentinian pesos, says the actual correct pronunciation is Shockings. Since it comes from a pre-Yiddish word starting with the letter Chet. Oh no!
No.
Ah, Chet.
Ugh.
You know, all I had to say to Vishanti to make her audibly sigh is just Chet.
Chet. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I thought you were gonna say pre-Yiddish for a second because that was.
I mean, that one probably would work too. But she and I were watching a video about a guy who was trying to describe like the deeper meaning behind Hebrew words based on how they're spelled
Okay.
and what the meaning
Yeah.
of the letters are. And so there's a
Yeah.
Hebrew letter, a pretty common Hebrew letter, Chet.
Okay.
And he gets to it, and he's like, "All right, now we come to the Hebrew letter Chet."
Oh
We're both
no.
like, "My guy, if you think Chet is Chet, you are absolutely not prepared to tell anyone anything about Hebrew."
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, like just please stop. My Unfinished Journey for $5 says in creationism, authority means that which cannot be questioned. In science, authority means person who knows what they're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's broadly true. I agree with that. All right, here we go.
And notice what he says here.
Okay.
The universe, and this is Steve Hawking.
We're gonna notice.
The universe would not exist if there was a decrease in the expansion rate 1 second after the Big Bang and only 1 part in 100 million millionths. So that number is insane.
I don't know how numbers are insane. I know that you mean what that means is that the value of that number is significant to you because it's very, very small, which is just the inverse of big number, therefore God. But, Matt, we don't know whether or not that thing could have varied. We just don't.
We don't know. We don't know how likely it could have been to vary. Like, this is kind of just like a little bit of, like, consider the trees, right? But on like a cosmic level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like to me, Hawking in that, like, by the way, he just called him Steve Hawkins.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna take a drink for that.
I can't. I finished my beer. And I didn't bring a second one outside with me.
Ooh.
I know, rookie mistake. But yeah, this is this idea that like a scientist expressing a sense of like awe and wonder at the natural universe, right? That's not that's just someone expressing awe and wonder. I don't
evidence for your particular religious stances.
Right, like in the context of that quote, like Hawking isn't even saying therefore see how improbable the universe is, right? It's like it's not improbable that our sky is blue, right? But sometimes, you know, you go outside, you see a really pretty blue sky, right? Just like not a cloud in the sky, and you're just like, oh, how nice.
Could say, hey, if only, you know, the actual orbital energies for oxygen were just a little bit different, then the sky would actually scatter a different color. Okay, but the various orbital energies for electrons in oxygen or atoms can't be different. They're determined by more fundamental laws of physics, and we don't know if that's true for things like the expansion rate of the universe. We just don't. So you can say, well, what if they were different? But we have no way to say if they even could be.
Yeah, and so like again, so this is just basically like poetry. This is just an expression of awe and wonder. Not it says nothing about the probability of the universe existing, right? From purely naturalistic senses, right? Like it's like reading Emily Dickinson and being mad you couldn't bake a cake, right? Like
so Dave, we got a couple things. First, Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 says, "Don't forget the letter olive, one of the great letters of our times. Although also bring back Thorn. Thorn needs to have a comeback. Let's get Thorn back here." Dave Lewis says, "Could God not have made a universe where the percent margin was not infinitesimally small? If a creator wanted a universe full of life, that makes little sense to make it that way." I mean, look, I don't know, because I don't know how to get inside the mind of an omnipotent creator. But I guess an omnipotent creator could have done all sorts of things. And look, here's the thing, right? If the like the fine-tuning argument seems compelling to you, as long as you're not going to
Cool.
then go and like deny aspects of science as a result of that, I don't have a quarrel with you. If you find the Kalam cosmological argument compelling, okay, I that's fine by me. Other people don't find it compelling. I'm not even going to tell you if I find it compelling because I just don't care to talk about that kind of thing on the channel. But like, I don't have an argument with you if you find that compelling or not. But what I can say is Matt is using it as a pretense to deny huge swaths of science. That is completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a total idiot.
Matt, you should be careful when you call people a total idiot. Because
You
remember,
should.
you're the guy who thought that the sun was literally on fire and needed oxygen in space to keep burning.
And I also have to say, if you are learning about like how someone else views the world,
Mhm.
right? And your first thought, your gut reaction to it is you would have to be a complete idiot to think that, right? Probably give it a second pass.
Yeah,
You know?
look, maybe you're right. There are things that it takes a complete idiot to believe, but that are believed anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
That's true.
most of the widely
But-
believed things aren't as idiotic as you think they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Like so like for example, right? Like I remember hearing a story that's like stuck with me, and so it's a news article years ago about someone in like Afghanistan, right? An American in Afghanistan talking with like local people. And like they didn't believe that we had gone to the moon, right? And you know what? From their perspective, like without TV, without news, without internet, right? Like with the like history of the world that they knew, like
Yeah, seems extraordinary.
yeah, that sounds extraordinary. That sounds wild. So the idea that like you have an idiot to think we didn't go to the moon. No, right? You don't.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have access to like the level of information that like we have.
Right. The level of information is always an important part of that, right? Because like
Yeah.
people in the Bronze Age weren't idiots for thinking the Earth is flat.
No,
People
absolutely
in
not.
like North America or Europe in the 21st century who think the Earth is flat, you're an idiot.
Idiots.
Yeah, you're an idiot.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that context is very important.
To actually say, okay, there's definitely no creator, even believing the evolutionary theory.
Okay. Nothing about evolution precludes a creator. The Big Bang does not preclude a creator.
Sure doesn't.
Now, look, there are a lot of scientists who don't believe in a creator, or who specifically believe that there was no creator, which is not the same thing.
Right.
But that's not a logical entailment. They just find that to be either they just find what they've heard in terms of arguments for a creator uncompelling for various reasons, or they find arguments against a creator's existence compelling, again, for various reasons. And that's okay. But yeah, no, nothing about the science precludes the logical possibility of a creator.
Right. And let's be very clear that there is absolutely no way for science to ever prove,
Anything,
right, or
for one thing.
demonstrate, well, prove anything, but there's no way for science to conclude, therefore, a supernatural cause, right? Like, that's outside of the parameters of science.
Yeah.
Right? The closest to that you would get would be, we don't know, we are unable to know.
Yeah.
Right? Using scientific methodology, we're unable to figure this out. Like what was going on before the Big Bang currently falls into that category, right? Who knows if it will forever, but right now that is not something science is able to speak on, right? Because there is no data to look at.
Right.
And so like,
sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead, read the super chat.
Lieutenant Math Navigator for 199 says, what if I think the Earth is banana shaped? In that case,
you're based.
But you should also expect a visit from the USGS security. Just let them in. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
They're gentle. Like, just like go limp.
Well, he'll go limp.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, you've lost. If you're an evolution, either way, if you're an atheist, you've lost the battle.
Hey, Matt, people who accept science and atheists aren't synonymous. There are lots of atheists who believe all sorts of crazy things that have no scientific basis, and there are lots of non-atheists who accept science completely.
Yep. And this phrasing is a battle, right? Evolutionists are not in a battle with creationists.
No.
Right? That's just scientists are over here doing their job and you're mad about it.
Mhm.
Like that's it. That's not a battle, my guy.
Yeah, it's the exact same complaint as when like flat earthers are like, well, why doesn't NASA do a 24-hour live stream from the moon to show that we went there? It's because they don't care about convincing you.
Yeah.
They've already provided as much evidence as it would take any rational person to accept that they've gone to the moon. And the fact that you're still not accepting it means you wouldn't accept that either. And so who cares? Why would they care about you? They don't.
Because even by Stephen Hawking's own admission,
you're not
and by
important
Richard
to
Dawkins' own
NASA.
admission, and they get mad at us for this, brothers. They get mad when you use their own quotes from their own prophets.
Yeah, the video just abruptly ended there, and for some reason, my sentence also abruptly ended, I guess.
That's fun.
But there is more, because I stitched two things together, because neither of them were very long. Although, given the pace that we take with the mats, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, that means it's a perfect time to go take a break after we point out that, Matt, the reason people get angry at you when you use these quotes, because you're quote mining and being dishonest.
Yes.
You would probably be angry if I said, well, you know, the Bible says that there is no God. And you would probably point out that it says right before that, the fool says in his heart. And you know what? You would be right to be mad about that, and you would be right to correct me on that if I did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why people get angry at you. It's because you're quote mining.
Yes.
Lieutenant Math the Navigator for 499 says, I'll let the USGS know how to employ sheep's bladders. Maybe employed it to prevent earthquakes. Yes. Who are you who are so wise in the way of science? They'll be very impressed. Very much so.
Yes.
Just like King Arthur was. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go grab myself another drink. Maddie is also probably going to do that. In the meantime, please enjoy this intermission, which will hopefully start with the audio on, and also be the coming soon, the teaser trailer for the next Star Trek Adventures episode of Star Trek Lexington, which is the actual play series over on Top Hats Off, which, by the way, that's coming to a close soon, but we're already well on the way of working towards the next show, which will be Star Trek Endurance, set in 2381, with a whole new crew and a very familiar cast, because it will be almost identical.
Yay!
So, all right, see you on the other side of the break, everybody. Next time on Star Trek Lexington.
Captain's Log, Stardate 7120.1. We are en route to the Temujin system at high warp. We were originally ordered by Admiral Stoker in a strangely worded message to investigate the third planet for Tilakal ruins. It seems that that's all we do lately. The Admiral may be developing a bit of an obsession. Regardless, while we were en route, we received a distress call from the USS Boca Raton, an Archer-class scout ship with a primarily human crew. They claimed that they were attacked by Kzinti slavers, and they launched their escape pods in the vicinity of Temujin 3. Our mission, as important to the Admiral as it may be, is less important than a rescue, which takes priority. Temujin 3 is a Class L planet, with an atmosphere of mostly nitrogen and only 15% oxygen, produced mostly by a microbe called sand plankton. The planet has almost no standing bodies of water and frequent sandstorms. If the crew has made it to the surface, they're probably still alive, but in need of serious aid.
And we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. DM Carl Ipsum Wing says, was there VO missing at the end of that promo? No, I'm just super lazy. That is the entirety of it. Okay, I say that, but also, how many random ass, less than 1,000 viewer channels that have TTRPG actual plays do full CGI trailers for every single one of their episodes?
Yeah, you're not lazy. You're in fact doing the most with zero resources other
Right.
than your own like skill at 3D animation.
Mm-hmm. And some super chats as a way to offset what I've put into it. Although I have a uniform shirt on the way. Well, shirt and top, like jacket or something. That was like
Amazing.
about $100 on its own. And I still have to buy the pips, so like
you need it. Sometimes we need it.
Yeah. It's way more expensive than my little tunic for the original series era. But you know what?
Yeah. You know what?
I'll be in the uniform, so.
Yeah.
Which basically is why, by the way, Top Hats Off is monetized. It is primarily monetized to offset
your cosplay.
Right. Well, not just the cosplay, but like to offset like the account on Roll20 that allows me the more storage and dynamic lighting, the hundreds of dollars worth of books that I've had to buy to get all of this together in the way that I have it, all the time spent on that instead of, well, other things. But like, like it is expensive to run a show like that, and so that is why it is monetized. Is basically just to help make it closer
offset
to just
the cost
free
of making it.
Right. So and yep. So I do. If you like my actual plays, or you just like me and you want to see more of me, especially if you like me in my human suit, go over there, watch some Star Trek Adventures, Star Trek Lexington. I am always on camera. Usually, actually, I believe so far always in a Starfleet uniform. So yeah. All right. But that being said, also this channel is also monetized primarily so that I can do things like eat food and pay rent. So. If you are a fan of this channel and of me being neither homeless nor starving, then I would suggest that there are some ways that you can help support the channel. Chief among them being the Patreon, as well as channel memberships. Both of those start at low prices. The Patreon starts at $1 a month. Channel memberships start at $1.99. They both give you early access to my scripted videos, one of which should be coming out later this week. They both give you They both give you access to my special Discord server that's just for supporters. They are, I think they're a lot of fun. The memberships also get you the cool emojis for super chats and membership milestone chats, which itself is another benefit. You get a membership milestone chat, which is basically a one super chat per month at no additional expense beyond what you already pay to be a member. I used to say free, but then I realized, well, no, you're paying a monthly fee to get that membership milestone chat, but
yeah, it's just one of the benefits.
Right. So,
it's
pretty cool. And also, if a monthly or annual thing isn't your deal, I have a wish list linked in the description. I also have a merch store. If you want to buy some merch, if you want to get a cool Dapper Dinosaur blanket, t-shirt, mug, baby onesie, I don't know, sticker, all that's there. And if, of course, you can't afford to, or you just don't really care to support financially, absolutely fine. I have absolutely no claim over any of your money. And certainly do not support me if you can't afford to. But liking and sharing costs nothing more than the electricity it takes to run your computer or phone or whatever you're watching on. So hit that button. And then, hey, you know what? Charge your device at like McDonald's and use their electricity.
Yeah.
So there you go. Or the library.
Guys, go to the library. Support your library.
Yeah,
we
while they still exist.
The worst timeline.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's a different instance of Matt Powell doing things.
Dapper, can I pitch my thing?
Yes, pitch your thing.
I have something to pitch, and I have it for like a year. So, guys, I'm super excited. I've been working on an actual play channel for like almost a year, since like June, when I finished my dissertation. And so it's going to launch next month on February the 8th. So the same time that this stream starts, that's when it'll be. It'll be on a channel called OK Roll. I think Dapper has a link to that.
I do.
So it's going to be a monthly live stream every second Sunday. And we're going to go through very cozy, like more indie games, kind of playing through some of those, doing a little bit of like a review, a little bit of a play to get a feel for it, for some games that like aren't D&D. And then we'll also have, so we've been doing like filming and editing in-person games. And so the first one of those is going to release starting in March. So we're going to launch with like the live streams in February, and then we'll start releasing some of the campaigns. They're very short. They're like 3 or 4 1.5 to 2 hour episodes for a story. It's using different actors, featuring different actors and improvisers from the Oklahoma City area. So it's a lot of me getting my improv friends to play tabletop games with me. And so I'm really excited about it. Would love to see you guys over there. If you want some actual play. And listen, I know that I'm going to need in my life some full escapism every once in a while. And so I'm building a whole actual play channel about just escapism.
Appreciated. If you think you saw a giraffe, no you didn't, for 100 Argentinian pesos says, Donde está la biblioteca is Spanish for please support the channel. I think that might be inaccurate, but you know what? I am not a fluent Spanish speaker. So, you know, I struggle to even call myself, like, minimally conversational in Spanish. So, what do I know? Nothing is the answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you know lots of stuff, Dapper. Don't put yourself down like that.
Oh, I suppose that's true. Oh, here we go.
I want us to notice
this video also just starts abruptly, which is fun.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not the transphobia whiplash, but it's a little bit of a whiplash.
Yeah, that we've come to expect from a Matt Powell video.
Yeah.
These 2 words, the Bible says they're clearly seen. You can look around you in nature and clearly see that God created the world, amen? And the Bible says...
Okay, even if that's true, which it's not, that doesn't actually negate anything about science, Matt, because nothing about science precludes that God made the universe as a whole.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of meaningless.
Being understood by the things that are made, so we understand that we're created because of the things that we clearly see, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are, notice these 2 words, without excuse. So there are...
All right, so...
Am I without excuse?
Well, you believe in God, so I guess not.
I guess not. Okay. Well,
But I'm going to go ahead and say that just like Christians have largely chucked out pretty much everything Paul had to say about sex,
yeah,
I think this section of I believe Romans should be another thing that maybe Christians should start ignoring, because it is both manifestly untrue and also horribly toxic and offensive to basically anyone. Because the idea is that you actually know what people really believe. They don't. They know you're right, and they're only disagreeing with you because they're evil. That is a horrible way to have a conversation with anyone, or to base any kind of relationship with anyone on. And 2, it's just not true.
Erica, Guts at Gibbon, has a video where she was like arguing with a presuppositionalist, and oh man, he kept going back to this point where he was claiming she was saying like, I'm not an atheist though, and he was like, you know, but you are, because I know you better than you know yourself. And that was the point where I just had to like, I can't give you the view time, Erica. I'm sorry. Like I'm all done.
Yeah, me too. I turned it off right about there.
I made it 37 minutes in.
Yep. Which is, I mean, most of the way through that video, to be fair. But yeah. Yep. So hey, Christians out there. There are things in the Bible that just aren't true, right? There just are. If you want to stay a Christian, you're going to either have to be okay with being wrong, or you're going to have to acknowledge that there are just some things that the Bible says that you just shouldn't believe. And that's okay, because you already do that, right? You don't believe that there are storehouses where God keeps the rain and the hail and the snow, and then he lets it down through little gates in the solid firmament. You don't believe that.
Physical windows. Yeah, no, we don't believe that.
Right. You don't believe that. And that's okay. That's fine. You don't have to. You also don't have to believe this.
Yeah, Christianity has a rich history of negotiating with the text, right?
Yep, because it turns out
do that. Participate in your religion.
The text, in its plain meaning, is sometimes wrong. It's sometimes contradictory, and you just have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And if your particular tradition can't deal with that, then I have two suggestions. You could stop being a Christian, or you could get a different tradition that can deal with it.
Yeah.
And if you're like, oh, well, I only believe what the Bible says. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You have an interpretive tradition.
Yeah.
Sola Scriptura is a performative contradiction in every single instance.
Yes.
So, yeah. In fact, Sola Scriptura... Okay. I have some problems with a lot of Protestant theology because it's self-defeating in a lot of ways, right? Like,
yeah.
The perspicuity of Scripture, clearly not true because of how many different Protestants take very important doctrines in different ways based on their clear reading of the clear meaning of Scripture, guided by the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Okay, cool. Sola Scriptura is self-defeating. It's literally incoherent. It doesn't make any sense on the face of it. So, like, hey, maybe just find a tradition that doesn't require you to perform logical contradictions on a daily basis.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Now, don't get me wrong. I have problems with other kinds of Christian theology out there as well. I'm just saying that those two are some of the ones that have led to a lot of the problems currently facing the North American continent.
Yeah.
I say. Not all the problems by far, but a lot.
Not all of them.
Yeah.
But a lot.
Yeah. Deconstructing Laura 42 for $4.99 says, "The riposte nella Genesi sono un sacco di cazzi." Oh, I believe that was supposed to be Italian. I'm sorry. I didn't recognize it at first, and I didn't do the voice up and down or try to really get, like, "The riposte nella Genesi sono un sacco di cazzi." It's probably closer. But again, my Italian is not very good. It's worse than my Spanish. Robert Acid, who's been a member for 25 months, says, "I thought you were going for warehouse of body parts per cur." Oh, yeah, well, there's that one, too. That's a weird one. That, like, Cat Kerr thinks that God just has a warehouse full of body parts. That's how he makes people. He, like, grabs some legs. He grabs, like, a torso, and he just, like, sticks them on, like Lego people. Yeah, it's... Cat Kerr is, like a weird, super splinter version of Christianity that even most Christians would be like, I think I want to keep that at arm's length. You stay over there, Cat, in your pink hair, and you're prophesying about where hurricanes are going to go. That's always wrong. Let's... Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, is a lot of the loudest voices in Christianity represent, like, the absolute fringes that most Christians are not on board with.
Yeah.
Like, I've met very few Christians who were like, oh yeah, Joel Osteen, great guy. But if you paid attention to the media, you would think that, like, he and his televangelist buddies are, like, representatives of, like, American Christianity, which they're not. They're really not.
They're really not.
They're representatives of just their little subgroup, which looks big when you see it on TV. That's only because you're forgetting how many more other Christians there are beyond that.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people to have over for dinner. It's not a very large portion of the country.
Yeah. I like that. It's a lot of people to have over for dinner. That's a good... I'm with that.
Thank you.
In this world, that the Bible says they are without excuse.
Did he get some twang? The Bible?
The Bible said they are without excuse. You are from Michigan, young man.
I think he might have added a little bit of twang. He might be in the South here.
They have no excuse not to believe in God. And the Bible also says in verse 21,
the Bible
says, because
he is saying Bible.
God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imagination, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And the title of my message today is The Agenda of the Public School System.
Just drink
Let's
for
go!
The agenda. Hey, Matt, you know what the agenda of the public school system is? It's
to educate the population.
It's to educate the population, and also hopefully do it in like a safe and rational manner to the extent possible. I'm just gonna take a drink.
I'm taking another. Huh.
How long until we get to the gay agenda?
There's absolutely no way to know, because no matter what we predict, it will come out of nowhere.
You know, I've seen the gay agenda, and a lot of it is just have brunch. Yeah.
Sounds nice.
I mean, who doesn't like brunch? Apparently, Matt.
Brunch? Yeah, Matt, clearly. He
That's
can't
not-
have brunch because brunch is during church.
But only Sunday brunch is. There's no rule that says you can't have brunch on Saturday.
Listen, don't mess with my clever point by adding logic to it. Please.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
I was being so silly.
The agenda of the public school system. You might say, well, that's not a very loving sounding title, an agenda.
No, Matt, that was not my criticism, was that it wasn't loving.
That was not my criticism.
Quite frankly, I just expect you to not be loving in any case whatsoever, and I just don't care. Because, like, Matt, if you ever watch this, I don't care if you love me. I don't care if you like me. I don't really care what you think of me. In fact, if I were to care, I think I would prefer that you dislike me than that you like me, because I don't want someone like you having a positive opinion of me, because that's probably evidence that there's something wrong with me, right? I want the worst people in the world to think I'm a terrible, terrible guy. That's why I'm happy to have been on that murderer Gunter Beckley's shit list until he died a horrible death in which he took another person with him. Fuck you, Gunter Beckley.
Well, when you think about it, when I see all of the things that are going on in this country and in America, there's obviously an agenda that's come about by our public school system. Did you know Hitler's...
Oh my goodness, take a drink.
Whoo!
Just
we got there
straight
real
in.
quick.
Did you know Hitler? Yeah.
Whew.
Hey, Matt. You know, it's your guys who just did a Nazi salute at the coronation on the 20th, right? That was one of your guys.
And nobody give me any of this I am absolute BS about Elon being autistic. I'm autistic. Autism doesn't make you a Nazi.
Yeah, I have met many, many autistic people who did various things to STEM. None of it was giving Nazi salutes.
Do you know what I'm doing to STEM right now? I'm sewing.
Wait, you're not, like, repeating Hitler's speeches in your head and, like, going over them, memorizing them?
No, sure not.
You're not just putting your arm up at a certain angle with your palm nice and flat and everything pointed down? No?
No. You know the most common little, like, hand stem that autistic people do is hand flaps, right? Like this. Or what I do, which is this, right? I touch my thumb to each of my fingers in succession.
Weird.
Right?
Weird how not very Nazi
Weird
that is.
how not a Nazi symbol that is.
Huh. Of course, now 4chan is going to try to make it a Nazi symbol.
Yeah.
Said if you tell a lie big enough, loud enough, and
He didn't say that, Matt.
He didn't say that.
often enough, people will believe it. It's got to be a big lie. And we're going to go ahead and focus today on the lie that's known as evolution, or the idea that we came from pond scum or a rock. You say, oh,
Or pond scum.
Just drink for we evolved from rocks, which is a thing that no one believes, and everyone has told you isn't what they believe, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt, if someone came to you and said, Christianity is so stupid because elephants don't have 5 legs and Christians keep saying that they do in fact have 5 legs, you'd find that to be a stupid thing to say. And you would say, that's not a part of Christianity. And you might even say, even if there's a Christian who does believe that, not because they're a Christian.
Yeah.
And you'd be right to say those things, Matt.
You sure would.
Similarly, when everyone who accepts the thing that you don't says, okay, but that's not part of it, maybe you should stop continuing to say it. If you saw a giraffe, no, you didn't, for 100 Argentinian pesos says, I think everyone on this channel is somewhere on the spectrum. So far, none have joined the German organization.
Yeah.
So I have no evidence that everyone on the channel is somewhere on the spectrum. However, it would be absolutely fine if they were.
Yeah. I actually
So, yeah.
got my diagnosis earlier this year. It's something that I specifically pursued to help me better understand. I get a lot of anxiety.
What
And
do you mean last year?
I do mean last year. I got it back in
because I was like,
August.
I feel like you told me about this way before December.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry,
Okay.
my bad. Yeah, well, it's something that I pursued because basically I experience anxiety a lot, but like nothing that helps most people with anxiety has been helping me, right? For the last like 8 years I've been in therapy for it, right? And so anyway, so like but like realizing that like the experience of anxiety that I have is actually coming from like being overstimulated most of the time. And that what I need to do is like stem and remove myself from the number of noises that my appliances make. Guys, my appliances make so many noises, and there's not an option to turn it off, and it's really upsetting. And I have to run away to my garage office frequently so they stop making me anxious and, frankly, a little crazy. But
Yeah.
anywho, sorry, that was a tangent. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with being autistic. It doesn't make you a Nazi. Sure doesn't.
It does not. Nope.
Nope.
And
nope.
I'm going to say implications that it does. That's probably bannable. Not that anyone has, because I have an awesome audience.
Yeah.
That sounds silly, Brother Powell. Why are you making fun of it? Hey, the Bible says, "He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh."
But why are you saying the Bible? What is
Bible.
happening? That is not how
You're
you normally
from
say
Michigan.
that, right? What is going on? That is not how he normally says that word. It is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is just super distracting because for no reason he's like putting on a faux Southern accent for one word, and it's Bible.
Word.
Why?
Yeah.
If you're gonna go like the weird Southern twang route, then just commit.
Yeah, man.
And if you're not going to, then don't do it just for the word Bible. Like, what? I don't get it. I don't understand what is happening right now. But then again, I constantly feel like that whenever I watch any of the Mats. So, who knows?
Yeah.
You know, we should be able to get a laugh out of this stuff. And you know, it would be really, really funny to me if so many people didn't fall for it.
Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 199 says, code switching in action. I mean, maybe, but there's no good reason to think that he has as one of, like, the settings in his brain, Southern drawl. Like, that's just not a thing that I think he has in there. Because, like, code switching is a real thing, right? And it happens, and that's fine. But, like, he doesn't normally do this, and nothing has ever led me to believe that his brain has, like, a Southern drawl mode. Because really, code switching really is basically your brain switching into different linguistic modes, right? Like, you have to, like, shift into, like, French or Spanish or Japanese or English mode or whatever. And, like, that's a real thing. That happens. And for it to be code switching, you actually have to have those things as established, like, methods of thinking in your brain. And I don't think he has that. I am very confident that Matt is a monolingual English speaker who mostly has one dialect and has no real experience code switching.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is just a weird anomaly.
Yeah, again, he's from Michigan.
Yeah. If you think you saw a giraffe, no, you didn't. For 100 Argentinian pesos, says, if I call the creationist Dyslalia... Okay, hold on. If I call it the creation... Okay. If I call it the creationist Dyslalia, makes him say bobble for the same reason Kent says water. I mean... Yeah, to be fair, I don't actually know why he says water like that. It's not part of any, like, speech pattern that I recognize as, like, a dialectical thing or anything. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is the same thing. Hank says, for $66 dues, poll, which man is worth? Matt, former Hovind Powell, or Raw Matt, the ordained Essene, who shouldn't be allowed to touch anyone else's food? Yeah, he definitely shouldn't be. Alright, yeah, we can do a poll. Let's start a poll. Why isn't it typing? Here we go.
Okay.
Which Matt is worse? Okay. We'll have Matt and Matt, and I'll start the poll. All right, which Matt is worse, everybody? Don't disappoint me. Get the right vote in. Oh, Matt's at 50% now. Neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
Oh, back down to 50. 62% for Matt. 60%. Oh man, it's close. We'll let it go for a little while. Here we go.
Okay.
You know, but I notice. I'd like to notice in verse number 22, the Bible says, "Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools." And how many of you guys know and see when you go down the road and you knock doors and you run into these God-hating atheists? What do they say?
How many times do you run into a God-hating atheist when you're just knocking on the door?
Well, first of all, I don't go knocking on random people's doors because that's like weird and cringe, and I hate it when people do that to me.
That's true.
But in terms of like people I know, I don't think I regularly interact with anyone whom I can say hates God.
I don't think I've ever met anyone who I could qualify as like someone who hates God, right?
Yeah.
And there's certainly an argument to be made that like there's no such thing as a God-hating atheist because an atheist doesn't believe in God, so you can't hate something you don't believe.
I mean, you can hate fictional character.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So I think it's at least logically possible, but I don't come across it in my life.
I've
really.
never run into that once in my life.
I think what that
so
is,
I don't know where Matt Powell is going, where this is a common occurrence. Apparently,
it's a coping mechanism.
Mm.
See, it allows him to say, no, Matt, they don't have good points. They're not right. They're just being poopy heads who hate God. And so I don't have to worry about the fact that maybe they've got a point. Maybe I haven't considered everything about my own theological positions. Maybe I could be wrong about something. Instead, he says to say, no, they're just hateful and mean, and I want all gay people executed, which is loving and good, so I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to get clipped.
You're going to get clipped on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
Well, oh well.
Oh well.
Oh, I believe in science. You believe in religion. You know, and they try to make it sound like we don't know what we're talking about. You know,
Matt, you thought there was air in space to keep the sun burning.
I'm taking a drink for stories that never happened.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, you thought that the sun was on fire.
Never in your life do you get to take the high horse on knowing what you're talking about.
No.
Ever. Because you were the guy who failed like 4th grade science. As an adult, you made it into your at least 20s thinking that the sun was a ball of actual fire that needed oxygen and that therefore there was air in space. No one who thinks that gets to take the high ground on the knowledge hill.
Yeah.
Instead, you get the limbless ground where you... No, it wasn't. He tripled down on it.
Yeah, it wasn't even a misspeak. It was a, like, no, this is how I legitimately the sun works. And I don't...
Yeah.
Woo! Oof!
We're at 61 votes, and right now it is 59-41 in favor of Matt. So, I don't know. I think Matt might lose unless he can rally a whole bunch more votes.
There are no winners here.
No. You and I win, and the audience wins because we get to have a fun time hanging out, doing our thing, having some drinks, and then later, if people are interested, they can come watch Power Rangers Megaforce over on my Discord, which is one of the Power Ranger seasons. It sure is one of them.
It's one of them.
Yep. Unlike Power Rangers Jungle Beasts, which is not one of them, but which was still fun. And I've actually had people going back through that because they became fans of Star Trek. So.
Oh, Jungle Beast was so much fun to play in.
It was. It was fun to run.
Yeah.
One time I had a guy, I knocked his door with the gospel of Christ, And he goes, well, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in anything.
I really don't think that's what he said, Matt.
I don't. Also, I knocked his door with the gospel of Christ. Like, that seems like not a great way to use your Bible.
Yeah, I'm just picturing him like banging with the Bible. I hope you have a sturdy Bible,
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah,
Those things can be expensive. I would not use mine as a door knocker.
I wouldn't use mine as a door knocker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drink for stories that didn't happen. We have another.
Yeah,
that's
okay,
happening
that's
right
fair.
now.
Yeah.
I'm an atheist.
I believe nothing.
I don't believe in anything.
Roshan Japonic means Germanic. Keller for 199 says, watch the Red Ranger Isekai. I have heard that is a thing that is coming, or has already dropped. DM me the details so I can make sure I get the right thing. Also, we have fallen behind pace to get Bent any food, so he might have to stay on that couch for at least the next. So.
You know, he says, and you can't be sure of anything. I said, well, are you sure that you're not sure of anything? Because
That's not a conversation that ever happened.
That's not a conversation that ever happened. I know I've already drank for this happening, but I'm drinking again because I'm eating.
Yeah, that's
The
fair.
more you talk about it, the less I believe that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like that you think that was clever.
Yeah. Matt's like, oh, well, if they don't think they can have certainty, Okay. Do you think Matt knows the word epistemology?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't either.
a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
He goes, well, there is no truth. I said, well, is that true? Because if it's true that there's no truth, how can we be sure that that's true? How can we be sure that anything's true? But this is the country that we live in, folks. And we live in a generation of schools and public fool systems is what they should be called.
Because it rhymes.
Because it rhymes.
Wow. There's a joke that didn't land.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, this is starting to get watered down, so I can take bigger sips. It's nice.
I'm a product of the public school system, right? Like, I got a very good education. I did switch to a private school for high school, but that was because of social thing.
Also, we have a wonderful reference to the Big Lebowski here in chat.
Wonderful.
And it says, "We are atheists, Mr. Powell. We believe in nothing." Which is a wonderful reference, and also highlights just how stupid this is, because the actual line is, "We are nihilists. We believe in nothing," which is more accurate. Because being an atheist does not entail a lack of beliefs in just anything, right?
Yeah.
There's certain things, well, there's one thing in particular that you can't believe if you're going to call yourself an atheist, like definitionally.
Yeah.
But like the whole rest of the stuff, you don't even have to be a philosophical naturalist to be an atheist. You can believe in ghosts. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. By the way, I do kind of like the reminder that atheists just don't believe in one more God than Christians.
Yeah. Also,
I just find that amusing.
5 gifted memberships from Roshan and Japonic means Germanic Keller. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, here we go.
That are teaching our kids that we
You're excused.
came from a monkey, for crying out loud.
Matt, you are a monkey.
You are a monkey, friend.
Let's talk about what it takes to be a monkey. All right, so to be a primate, you have to have a fully enclosed orbit, which means that there's no like space behind your eyes where like you could poke through and not get skull bone. Right? Okay, so humans have that. So you're a primate so far.
No space
also,
here.
Rather than having curved claws that come from all around the distal phalange, then you have a flat nail that only comes from the top of it. Oh, yep, got that. So that's another key aspect of being a primate. Now, primates also they tend to have a hind limb dominant locomotor style when on the ground. And you're so hind limb dominant that you only use your legs when you're locomoting on the ground. So, primate all around. Now, to be a monkey, there's a few other things.
Sometimes I give horsey rides.
That's not your primary method of locomotion on the ground, though. That is an exceptional
true.
thing that you do occasionally for funsies.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we get to monkeys, we get things like, do you have a dry nose, or is your nose wet like a dog's nose? Got the dry nose going?
My nose is dry.
All right. You got these
know.
weird, complicated pinnae that don't move much here. Here. The sides of your ears. Yep. That helps you get into the monkey category. You have particularly you got an opposable thumb that can oppose against at least some of your digits, allowing you a precision grip on things like fruit, vegetables, tree branches, whatever else. Yep. Okay, so let's get into whether or not. So that already right there, you are definitionally a monkey based on the morphological characteristics that it takes to be a monkey. Now, Joshua Geese has also gifted 5 more Dapper Dinosaur memberships, so thank you very much for that. Let's take. I just screwed that up a second there. Let me fix that. We're going to take 6 drinks, one of them for Dapper's a Professional. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, and 6.
Oh my gosh. Well, these hiccups aren't going away anytime soon.
So let's zoom in and say, are humans apes? Also, we're going to end the poll. So let's see. Let's take a look at the poll. Which Matt is worse? Matt wins with 62%, and unfortunately, Matt loses with only 37% of the votes out of 72 votes.
Interesting breakdown.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised.
I would have been Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you never know what the audience is going to do.
Yeah, it's true.
Did you know the default for your brain is to hiccup, and your brain actually has to send a signal to your nerves to interrupt the impulse to your lungs to hiccup?
That's wild.
Yeah, your brain is default yes hiccups.
Huh.
Yeah. So like, intelligent design all around.
One of my favorite videos I have of my daughter is on like day 1 of her being alive. She got the hiccups, right? So she's just like hours old, and she's like so sleepy, and she just hiccups and her little eyes open, and she's all confused, and then hiccups, and then just tries to go back to sleep.
Oh, poor thing.
Poor thing. I love that video.
It's adorable, but so sad.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, I'm so sorry, baby. Yeah. Oh.
Okay, so let's see. Are humans apes, right? So
okay.
You got a very flexible shoulder joint that lets you put your arm like way above your head. Yeah, okay. That's a characteristic of being an ape.
I can swing. I can swing from a bar.
Now, this is not something we should demonstrate on camera, but like, do you have a post-anal tail that extends beyond the body wall?
No.
Okay. Well, that's another ape thing. Do you have tricuspid molars?
Oh, yes.
Yep. All right. We now have enough to say that you are not only a monkey, you are an ape. And therefore, even if evolution is false, the fact that you are an ape and so were your parents means, yes, you came from apes.
True. And in fact, am an ape.
Yep, you are an ape. It is, in fact, the planet of the apes.
Yeah. I don't really understand why this is such a thing. Because, like, why this argument, or why there's so much, what's the word? Like, incredulity about, like, you think I came from apes? It's like, no, I think you are an ape. But because there's no such incredulity around, like, the claim that you're a mammal, right?
I think it's that the closer you get in the taxonomy, the more uncomfortable people get. But also, the same people who are okay with saying humans are mammals among creationists also sometimes get weird when you say that, well, therefore they're animals, because mammal is a subset of animal. And they're like, don't like that. So they'll say, like, yeah, I'm a vertebrate and a mammal. Because you have a backbone and hair, and females of my species give milk to their young and whatnot, and live birth and all that stuff. Which live birth isn't technically a rule for mammals, but, like, if you have live birth with a placenta, then yeah, okay, you're going to be in the mammal club.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when you go out to animal, they're like, I don't like that. And if you go too close and say, like, well, you know, you're also an ape, they're like, no, I don't like it.
That's really interesting because, like, the like the animal never bothered me because it was like, well, of course I'm an animal in the sense that I'm not a plant, right? Like
Right.
even as
I'm not
like
a plant.
little kid.
I'm not a fungus. I'm not
yeah,
single
okay.
cellular.
Gosh. Exactly. Yeah, like I'm not a plant, I'm not a fungus, I'm not like I'm a eukaryote.
For some reason, yeah, they just don't like that. They like the middle part of the taxonomy. That's fine. But you go too high or too
Yeah.
low, and they're like, no, hold up a second.
Yeah, that one time I debated Kent Hovind, he was like, "You think we're related to like pine cones?" And I was just like, "Yeah, we're both eukaryotes. Like, I can play the game of if one of these things is not like the other all day long.
Although,
I
really,
just wouldn't drop it."
He should have said pine trees, because saying pine cone is like, you think you're related to like your dad's hand. It's like,
yeah, well, I mean that's a weird way to say it, but
it's like, yeah, that's just one part of the whole organism. That the relationship is between the whole organisms, but
yeah. But like he got really upset and like wouldn't acknowledge that like I'm a eukaryote. It's like I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I've got my cells have organelles, got a distinct
nucleus.
membrane.
Yeah. Sorry? I'm sorry that I have organelles and a nucleus and mitochondria and whatnot.
Yeah. Like,
my bad.
Do you think I'm not a eukaryotic
right.
being?
Turns out
I don't know where to go with that, bro.
Turns out Maddie is just actually a really big bacterium. It's weird. All right, here we go.
You know, they teach the kids from a young age that, it started off with an amoeba and you get to...
No, it didn't start off with an amoeba. Amoebas didn't come about until...
they don't teach that. Yeah.
Yeah. Amoebas don't show up until like over 1 billion years into the history of life. And also, they're not the ancestors of any animal life. They're a sister group to like the Obazoa, which is a group that also includes animals, but also many non-animals. So like, they're not the farthest thing from being animals. They're closer to being animals than fungi are, but like, they're still very much not the ancestors of animals. Amoeba is not like a synonym for just non-bacterial eukaryotic cell.
Yeah.
Amoebazoa is its own very specialized group of single-celled organisms that have a lot of very complicated adaptations, and also, by the way, have way more DNA than you do. By a lot.
Yeah, the idea that, like, something that I have come to learn that I think is because, like, again, I'm not a biologist. I haven't taken much in any like biological science. But the notion that like amoebas are not basal, right? That they are highly evolved, right, creatures. Well, I say creature very broadly, right? They're highly evolved.
I'm okay with it.
Things, right? I think that's really, really cool. And the reason, right, that like we don't see new life sprouting up all the time, right, is not necessarily because that was a incredibly unique event, but because any brand new life that hasn't evolved for 4 billion years is going to be immediately outcompeted, and so we won't ever see it.
Right. Lieutenant Matt the Navigator for 499 says, "What's the over/under on Matt thinking viruses are amoebas?" Oh my goodness.
No.
I would not be surprised if he thinks that they're the same.
But what's the over/under on thinking that the macrophage virus from that one episode of Star Trek Voyager is realistic?
I don't think he would think that, and I think that that's not because he would have good reasons, but because Matt Powell hates fun and therefore probably thinks that Star Trek is bad.
Star Trek is so fun.
Yeah, that's why he hates it.
You're right. Yeah, it's fun.
Matt Powell
for children.
is very famous for hating fun. He has a whole video on his channel where he rants about how all of his opponents have like anime posters in their background, and it's just like,
do you not like things?
Yeah, like, do you just have a miserable existence where you never do anything for fun?
Yeah, like, would you also be upset if instead of an anime poster, Dallas right? Like,
Yeah, Dallas Cowboys poster. Yeah, I guess.
yeah, you know, like if that's what you're into, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's just that the people who have Dallas Cowboy posters don't have a lot of overlap with people who want to talk about evolution on the internet,
that's true.
and that's fine. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
here we go.
what it is? Apparently, this is the only acceptable setting, like stage setting for Matt, which is plain walls. Austere.
Such an ugly building.
Australopithecus afarensis, Lucy, all the way up to Peking Man, and here we are. Yep. Is this it? Are we the
What does that mean? Is this it?
last stage in evolution?
No.
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 What?
No.
Weird. No.
First, humans will likely evolve into something that is not. Sorry, I want to phrase this correctly. Humans will likely evolve to the point that future humans will no longer meet the species definition for Homo sapiens based on morphology that we currently have. And further, even if they don't, presumably because they go extinct, there will almost certainly be other life that will continue to evolve. So, if humans are a terminal branch, it's only because they're going to go extinct. They're not the highest form of life, because that doesn't make any sense in terms of evolution. They're not the perfect organisms. Sorry. That's actually the xenomorphs, if you were paying attention. They're not. They're just a particularly currently very successful species of ape. They're not the end product of evolution, other than that it is currently the present time. But in that case, all currently extant species are the end product of evolution just as much.
Yeah. Yep.
So, like, red-tailed deer are just as much the ultimate form of evolution. Like, okay, I mean, if you want to talk about it that way, I mean, it's weird, but, like, can't say you're wrong if you're going to be consistent with it.
Yeah. But, like...
You know, I wonder what's next. Yeah. You know?
Oh, it started crashing again.
This is the idea... This is kind of the sci-fi idea that comes along with the agendas that...
So, here's what we're going to do. I am going to write down 35, 36, which is roughly where we were.
Okay.
I'm going to write that down in our DMs so I can write it down elsewhere later. And you know what? It is already 54 past, which means it's basically time to start wrapping up anyway. That's okay. So, Maddie, you have a new channel coming out. I have subscribed.
I sure do.
It is linked in the pinned chat up there, so go check that out right up there.
Thanks, team.
Yes. Also, someone here said that they had just now learned, or just today learned, about Top Hats Off, and had just subscribed, so thank you very much. Left-Handed Jedi, member for 13 months at the Touchpot level, says, the Thing or the Xenomorph, which is better? I mean, to some extent, it depends on what you mean by better. I would say that the Thing probably would win in a fight, just because it could absorb the Xenomorph and just gain, like, the acid resistance and whatnot. However, I think that as far as, like, a consistent monster that I want to see in multiple movies, then the Xenomorph is going to win. Because the problem is that, like, once you do the Thing once, there's not a whole lot of other stories that you can tell other than just that same story.
Yeah.
Whereas there are some different stories you can tell with the Xenomorph.
Yeah. And I have to say, the original Alien movie is possibly, like, the most feminist movie I've ever seen in my life, and that speaks deeply to me.
Which is certainly not the case for the Thing, because there are...
That's true. Yeah.
I think the only female character in that movie is a dog.
Yeah. But in Alien, it's just everyone dies because they don't listen to the smart woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never related to a plot so much in my life.
Also, early movie with a trans character.
There you go.
To be fair, we don't learn that she's trans until the sequel.
Yeah.
And then you have to zoom in on her, like, personnel file in one scene. But it turns out that Lambert, the navigator, trans woman.
Trans rights.
Yeah. So, thanks,
We're
aliens.
here for trans rights team. Thanks, Alien.
Yep. In fact, she transitioned in childhood, which means that the Alien franchise is okay with things like puberty blockers and treatment for trans kids. So,
yeah.
Way to go, Alien. Or
way to go, Alien.
Aliens in this case, I guess, because, I mean, let's face it, that was a retcon. There's nothing in
Yeah.
Alien to indicate that Lambert is trans. Not that there has to be, but like, I don't think that was actually part of the writer's intention in Alien. But you know what? You retconned it, and so now it's canon. So there you go.
There you go.
All right. So, everyone, go check out. I mean, if you're interested in like TTRPG content, go check out Maddie's channel. Remember, she's going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff that isn't D&D. And given how crappy Wizards of the Coast have been in the last few years, I am really a big fan of expanding the TTRPG's community's horizons beyond Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, our first live stream, we're going to look into Apothecaria, which is a cozy little game, GM-less game about critters brewing potions to help their community.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I like that. I do appreciate the many, many trans flags in the chat. Much appreciated. Okay, so if you think you saw his giraffe, no, you didn't. Says it's not a retcon if it doesn't contradict prior canon. It's just a revelation. I mean, okay, that's fair. That's fair. But it's clearly something that I don't think was in the brains of any of the writers for the original Alien. So, you know. But then again, I don't care that that's the case. It's fine. So anyway, let's see what's coming up here on this channel. So I am going to go over to my creator studio thing so I don't get this wrong. Let's see. Coming up on Thursday, a creationist... oh, no, sorry. I'm looking way ahead. Let's see. What's coming out on this Thursday? So this Thursday, January 23rd, at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, Young Earth Creationism with FTFE, which is a mirror of a stream I did with Craig on his channel, FTFE, where I introduced him to some of the dumbest of Young Earth Creationism to explain why it is that I feel like Young Earth Creationism and Flat Earth are basically two sides of the same coin. And that the biggest differences are, one, Young Earth Creationism is much more popular and better funded, and two, it is easier to do the experiments to disprove the Flat Earth than it is to disprove the Young Earth. But they are still both similarly well evidenced, which is to say that both Young Earth and Flat Earth have literally no positive evidence, and both metaphorical and literal mountains of evidence against them.
Yeah.
So that will be on Thursday. Then on Friday, over on Top Hats Off, I am going to be doing episode, I think, 15? 14? No, I think it's 15. 15. Emergency Temujin 3. After this, there will be 16, 17, and 18, and that is it for Star Trek Lexington, but it is not it for us doing Star Trek Adventures on the channel. We still have probably over a year worth of content with that to go, so stick around. So that'll be at, I believe, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Then on Saturday, I have two shows coming. So we have our regular show for 11 a.m., 2 p.m. Eastern, which is going to be Dapper Reacts with Bashanti and Kip Davis talking about Bodhi Hodge's Tower of Babel book. But then later on in that night, I believe sometime around, like, I think, 6 Pacific. So what is that, like 9 Eastern? We're going to be doing the nominations for the Cambrian Bunny Awards.
Oh, exciting.
So we're going to get nominations for Worst Argument, Worst Use of the English Language, Worst Behaved, and Best Overall Creationist of 2024.
Wonderful.
Right now, it looks like it's going to be myself, Grayson Hawk, who's been on the channel, Jordan from Reason to Doubt, and Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal as our panel. And there will be voting. You guys get to decide who is the winner of each of these categories. And yes, you can cheat. You can open up as many socks as you want to vote as many times as you want. I don't care, because none of this means anything. It's just a bunch of fun. So, keep your eyes peeled for that. That's also going to be on Saturday. And then next Tuesday, I have to double check with Jackson, but currently the plan is Jackson with Jackson.
Wonderful.
So I hope everyone has a wonderful night. If you are interested and you have access to my Discord server, we're going to be doing Power Rangers in just a few minutes over there. So I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your night. Stay safe out there. And, punch Nazis. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Eleron Teller, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Sphincter of Doom, Wallace, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, John Ackerman, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.